Dear friends in Dhamma, now we are going to start our evening session. Uh, Before start our meditation, I thought to read one important sutta, important for meditators. It's not very long sutta, and many of you have already heard it, but it is good to uh, remember it or recollect it again. So after reading this sutta, we can meditate again. It is just 3 pages. So the name of the sutta is Vitakka Santana Sutta. Many of you have already heard it. The removal of distracting thoughts. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was living at Savatthi in Jetha's Grove, Anathapindika's park. There he addressed the bhikkhus thus, bhikkhus, Venerable Sir, they replied. The Blessed One said this, bhikkhus, when a bhikkhu is pursuing the higher mind, from time to time, he should give attention to 5 signs. What are the 5? Here, bhikkhus, when a bhikkhu is giving attention to some sign, and owing to that sign, there arise in him evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, and with delusion. Then he should give attention to some other sign connected with what is wholesome. When he gives attention to some other sign connected with what is wholesome, then any evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, and with delusion are abandoned in him and subside. With the abandoning of them, his mind becomes steadied internally, quieted, brought to singleness, and concentrated, just as a skilled carpenter or his apprentice might knock out, remove, and extract a coarse peg by means of a fine one. So too, etc., when a bhikkhu gives attention to some other sign connected with what is wholesome, his mind becomes steadied internally, quieted, brought to singleness, and concentrated. If while he is giving attention to some other sign connected with what is wholesome, there still arise in him evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, and with delusion. Then he should examine the danger in those thoughts thus. These thoughts are unwholesome. They are reprehensible. They result in suffering. When he examines the danger in those thoughts, then any evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, and with delusion are abandoned in him and subside. With the abandoning of them, his mind becomes steadied internally, quieted, brought to singleness, and concentrated. Just as a man or a woman, young, youthful, and fond of ornaments, would be horrified, humiliated, and disgusted if the carcass of a snake or a dog or a human being were hung around his or her neck, so too, etc. When a bhikkhu examines the danger in those thoughts, his mind becomes steadied internally, quieted, brought to singleness, and concentrated. If while he is examining the danger in those thoughts, there still arise in him evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, and with delusion, then he should try to forget those thoughts and should not give attention to them. When he tries to forget those thoughts and does not give attention to them, then any evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, and with delusion are abandoned in him and subside. With the abandoning of them, his mind becomes steadied internally, quieted, brought to singleness, and concentrated. Just as a man with good eyes who did not want to see forms that had come within range of sight would either shut his eyes or look away. So too, etc., etc. When a bhikkhu tries to forget those thoughts and does not give attention to them, his mind becomes steadied internally, quieted, brought to singleness, and concentrated. If while he is trying to forget those thoughts and is not giving attention to them, there still arise in him evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, and with delusion. Then he should give attention to stilling the thought formation of those thoughts. When he gives attention to stilling the thought formation of those thoughts, then any evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, and with delusion are abandoned in him and subside. With the abandoning of them, his mind becomes steadied internally, quieted, brought to singleness, and concentrated. Just as a man walking fast might consider, why am I walking fast? What if I walk slowly? And he would walk slowly. Then he might consider, why am I walking slowly? What if I stand? And he would stand. Then he might consider, why am I standing? What if I sit? And he would sit. Then he might consider, why am I sitting? What if I lie down? And he would lie down. By doing so, he would substitute for each grosser posture one that was subtler. So too, etc. When a bhikkhu gives attention to stilling the thought formation of those thoughts, his mind becomes steadied internally, quieted, brought to singleness, and concentrated. If while he is giving attention to stilling the thought formation of those thoughts, there still arise in him evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, and with delusion. Then, with his teeth clenched and his tongue pressed against the roof of his mouth, he should beat down, constrain, and crush mind with mind. When, with his teeth clenched and his tongue pressed against the roof of his mouth, he beats down, constrains, and crushes mind with mind. Then any evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, and with delusion are abandoned in him and subside. With the abandoning of them, his mind becomes steadied internally, quieted, brought to singleness, and concentrated. Just as a strong man might seize a weaker man by the head or shoulders and beat him down, constrain him, and crush him, so too, etc., when with his teeth clenched and his tongue pressed against the roof of his mouth, a bhikkhu beats down, constrains, and crushes mind with mind. His mind becomes steadied internally, quieted, brought to singleness, and concentrated. Bhikkhus. When a bhikkhu is giving attention to some sign and owing to that sign, there arise in him evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, and with delusion. Then, when he gives attention to some other sign connected with what is wholesome, any such evil, unwholesome thoughts are abandoned in him and subside. And with the abandoning of them, his mind becomes steadied internally, quieted, brought to singleness, and concentrated. When he examines the danger in those thoughts, when he tries to forget those thoughts and does not give attention to them, when he gives attention to stilling the thought formation of those thoughts, when with his teeth clenched and his tongue pressed against the roof of his mouth, he beats down, constrains, and crushes mind with mind, any such evil, unwholesome thoughts are abandoned in him, and his mind becomes steadied internally, quieted, brought to singleness, and concentrated. This bhikkhu is then called a master of the forces of thought. He will think whatever thought he wishes to think, and he will not think any thought that he does not wish to think. He has served craving, flung off the fetters, and with the complete penetration of conceit, he has made an end of suffering. That is what the Blessed One said. The bhikkhus were satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words. So you can use this information in your meditation. You also have to face a lot of thoughts, sometimes unwholesome thoughts. So you can use this technique to fight or deal with those unwholesome thoughts. So now it is the time to meditate again. We don't have much time. Let's start. Now this time, after lunch, you may feel more laziness, sloth and torpor. So if you feel much laziness, you can stand up and go out and can do walking meditation. Others who are comfortable here can meditate continuously up to 3 o'clock. So let's start. You know the technique, you know what to do now. Observe your mind, or observe your body first from head to the toes. And when you're observing the body, you may find sensations, feelings, and you may find thoughts and different mental states, and you may find different sounds and other objects from your environment. You have to observe all these things without craving, without aversion. Even if you have craving and aversion, those things also objects of meditation. If you understand craving as craving, that is wholesome. If you understand aversion as aversion, that understanding is wholesome. Craving is not wholesome, but understanding craving as craving is wholesome. Aversion is not wholesome, but understanding aversion as aversion, that understanding is wholesome. So the meditator who knows to meditate correctly, nothing is harmful, or whatever object come to his mind is not obstruct his meditation. All the objects come to the mind of a meditator. A meditator can use them to generate one of the wholesome states. So you have to be clever enough to meditate. If you have any question, I can clarify according to my knowledge. Yes, it is correct. It is very correct. If you are familiar with Anapanasati, you can move on to Anapanasati and continue with Anapanasati. And sometimes, if you can't catch the Anapanasati at all and you don't know what to do, then consider whatever the object your mind perceives. That is the object. As example, if you can feel the touches of your body, so be with the touches from head to the toes, move your mind. And if you feel any pain or any sensation, be with those sensations. And again, if it is start the breath, then you can move on to the breath again. And if you feel sleepiness, or if mind is restless, or if you have any other worry, anything in the mind, try to focus onto that object, but without clinging and aversion. You have to have kind of equanimous mind to observe those unwholesome states. And if you are not strong enough to observe those things, don't focus on those things. Do something easy and comfortable, something. So, is it clear? Clear the way I am speaking? Anybody else? Yes. This is not possible. It is something impossible. It is like rising sun from the west. You have to have basic knowledge. Even the people who have great knowledge, is not easy even for them it is not easy to attain Nibbana. So, if you want to become a good meditator, you have to have good Dhamma knowledge also. But this is applicable especially for our era, this era. But at the time of Buddha, because of the Buddha, many people who are illiterate could attain Nibbana. That is because of the Buddha's ability. And those people, they have already accumulated merits and paramis in past lives. So they could attain Nibbana easily with the help of Buddha. But now we are living in this 21st century. We have to accumulate all the wholesome states, knowledge, virtue, meditation, energy, generosity, all these things we have to collect. Is it clear? Don't hesitate to do any wholesome deed. Do all the wholesome deeds if it's convenient to you. Don't torture yourself, but happily do whatever the wholesome deed available to do. If posture is very comfortable, it is helpful to focus. Even the Buddha said, Sukhino chittan samadhyati. One who is in comfort, his mind become concentrated. So good posture, relaxed posture, correct posture is important to get concentration. Even in this Anapana Sati Kammattana, Buddha said, Pallankang abujitva ujung kayang panidahaya parimukang sating upattapeta. Those days, Buddha's time, sitting in this lotus posture or half lotus posture is a common thing, comfortable sitting, not like us. Now we, from the beginning of our life, we sit down on chairs. So for us, it is very difficult to sit sit in this lotus posture. Sit, I don't know, in or on. The lotus posture is difficult for us. But Buddha's time, it is common practice. So now it is good to use comfortable posture for us. If you are comfortable on your chair, that is the good posture for you. And there are yoga exercises to adjust your posture. If you follow those exercises, you may be able to sit in lotus posture, but otherwise it is difficult. Anyway, if you can keep your erect body, and your head and your hands and the back straight, that can definitely helpful you to get good concentration. You are kind of fortunate person, so you do that. Now, you said you are comfortable while sitting on the ground. So it is your path. You follow that path. So you do that way. If it is more convenient than sitting on a chair, so it is advisable you to follow that path. You sit on the ground.